Imagine for a second that you're sitting in this like really sleek corporate boardroom.
Oh, nice. Setting the scene right out of the gate.
Right, yeah. So you're there, and leadership is staring down a massive, multi-million-dollar expansion. $1 billion mega factory, even.
Huge stakes.
Exactly. And they're looking at spreadsheets, the land prices in 2 different states, a tie, the transportation access, basically identical.
Right, they all have highways.
Yeah. And the state incentives, those massive tax breaks we always hear about, they're practically carbon copies of each other.
Which is usually how it goes at that level.
So how do leaders actually decide? Because someone at that table eventually has to put the spreadsheet down and ask a totally different question, which is, which of these places actually feels ready for us?
Yeah, and that single question completely changes the trajectory of the whole conversation.
Totally.
Because, I mean, anyone who has ever managed a massive capital project knows that the numbers on a spreadsheet, they don't pour the concrete.
Right.
They don't run the machines.
And that is exactly what we're getting into today for this deep dive. We are going to decode the secret language of corporate site selection.
It really is a secret language, too.
It is. And to do it, we've got our hands on a really fascinating document. It was published by the Fulton County Industrial Development Agency.
Out in New York, right?
Yep. Published on March 12, 2026. And it's titled, 5 Signals a Region is Ready for Business Expansion.
It's a great piece. Really revealing.
Yeah. So our mission today is to extract the exact framework that smart companies use to avoid, billion-dollar location mistakes. We're going to figure out what makes a community truly business ready.
I love it.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the intro to this source really sets the tone.
It does. And what's fascinating here is the psychological shift that this document outlines right away.
Yeah.
We're moving from a world where communities strive to be merely, quote-unquote, business-friendly, to a landscape where they absolutely must be business-ready.
Oh, right, because business-friendly, I mean, that just sounds like a slogan on a billboard you pass on the interstate.
Yeah. Welcome to our town. We love business.
Exactly. It feels like a vibe, not a strategy.
Well, it's a superficial marketing vibe. It implies the local mayor is going to, smile and shake your hand at a press conference if you bring jobs to their town.
Which is nice, but...
But it doesn't build a factory. Business ready, on the other hand, is a verifiable reduction of corporate risk.
Verifiable reduction of risk, that's the key.
Right. The source actually points to expansion guides, including stuff from the U.S. Small Business Administration, and they highlight that successful decisions rely entirely on long-term operational factors.
So it's not just about the ribbon cutting.
Not at all. The most successful expansion projects, they don't happen in places that just advertise opportunity. They happen in places that can demonstrate their readiness with hard evidence.
It makes me think about buying a house, actually.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, imagine you are looking at 2 different homes on the market. They have the exact same asking price, the exact same square footage, similar neighborhoods.
Okay, so that's your spreadsheet.
Right, that's the spreadsheet. But House A has a failing foundation, ancient plumbing, and the seller hasn't even bothered to do a basic inspection.
Yikes.
Yeah, exactly. But House B has been fully inspected, the roof is brand new, the wiring is updated, and you can practically move your furniture in tomorrow.
You're definitely picking House B.
Right, because you aren't just looking at the price anymore. You are looking at the nightmare you might be buying into.
And let's take that a step further, because the true cost of House A is hidden in the delays.
Oh, man, yeah, the contractors alone.
Exactly. It's the time spent waiting for those contractors, the unexpected disasters behind the drywall, the months you have to rent another place while the foundation is fixed.
It adds up fast.
And for a massive corporation, those unexpected disasters translate to delayed equipment orders, stalled construction schedules.
And panicking investors.
Oh, absolutely. Investors who want to know why their capital is tied up in a dirt lot doing nothing.
Oh, but wait, let me challenge that premise for a second.
Sure.
Because we see it on the news all the time, right? Cities throwing colossal tax breaks to get a tech hub or like an electric vehicle manufacturer. Are you really saying the biggest check doesn't usually win?
You would think it does, but the data actually shows the opposite.
Wait, really?
Yeah. A $50 million tax break is an absolute mirage if the region isn't structurally prepared to support the growth.
Huh.
Those incentives, they only matter if the region is ready to execute after the decision is made.
Because you still have to build the thing.
Think about it mechanically. A massive tax break means literally nothing if you can't get the local permits to actually build the facility.
Or if you build it but the lights don't turn on.
Right. If the local grid doesn't have the power capacity to run your machines, what good was the tax break?
Okay, so if the tax break doesn't matter without the concrete, how do you actually get the concrete poured?
Now you're asking the right questions.
That brings us to the first major hurdle, right? Bureaucracy and the dirt itself.
Yep, the physical and administrative foundation.
If readiness is all about reducing operational risk, the most immediate risks lie right there in the government offices and the ground.
Let's look at the very first signal the source outlines, which is clear and predictable approval timelines.
Right.
The paper introduces a concept that I think is absolutely vital here. It says expansion moves at the speed of confidence.
Speed of confidence. Let's linger on that phrase for a minute because it feels like the thesis for this entire framework.
It really is.
What does the speed of confidence actually look like in practice, like day to day?
Well, it looks like financial momentum. When a company decides to build a massive facility, they're usually securing hundreds of millions of dollars in financing.
Which is not free money.
Not at all. It accrues interest the second it is borrowed.
Right.
So if timelines are uncertain, like say a local zoning board takes 14 months to approve a permit instead of 2 months, that confidence just evaporates.
And the clock is ticking on that loan.
The company is now paying holding costs, bridging loans, and massive interest payments on capital that is literally just sitting in escrow.
Let me put some quick math to that just to make it real.
Go for it.
If you have a $100 million project and you are paying, say, 8% interest on your financing,
Pretty standard.
a 6-month delay waiting for a local government stamp just cost you $4 million in interest alone.
Wow.
Poof, gone. And you haven't even moved a single pile of dirt yet.
And that is exactly why the source identifies a 60 to 90-day approval timeline as the gold standard.
60 to 90 days.
Yes. That timeline turns a massive, terrifying, multi-million-dollar unknown into concrete planning clarity.
That makes a lot of sense.
With a guaranteed 60 to 90-day window, leadership can confidently schedule their specialized contractors.
They aren't just guessing when to tell the bulldozers to show up.
Exactly. They can align their financing draws with the construction schedule so they aren't paying interest before they need to.
And they can go back to their board with a real plan.
Right. Most importantly, they could present reliable milestones to their investors.
Because investors hate surprises more than almost anything else.
They despise them.
So you have your 60-day permit. The paperwork is cleared. Let's talk about the physical location.
The dirts.
Yeah, the dirt. Signal number 2 is about infrastructure that is actually ready. The term they use is shovel-ready.
Shovel-ready, yes.
And the text makes it very clear that executives have learned a brutal lesson over the years, which is that available land is not the same thing as ready for development.
Far from it. A vacant, picturesque field is just a vacant field.
Just grass and bugs.
Right. True readiness means the complex fundamentals are already sitting right there, waiting to be plugged into.
Like what?
We're talking about high-capacity water and wastewater infrastructure.
Which you need a lot of for manufacturing.
Tons of it. We're talking about reliable, industrial-scale power capacity and, of course, high-speed broadband connectivity.
And don't forget transportation access to heavy highways, rail lines, or logistics corridors.
Yes, logistics are huge.
And then there is the hidden killer, which I found fascinating. Environmental clearances.
Oh, that is a massive one.
Think about it. You buy a beautiful plot of land, you order the steel for the roof, and then a surveyor discovers like an endangered species of frog living in a puddle on the back half of your lot.
The infamous endangered frog delay.
Right. And if the municipality hasn't already done the environmental prep and impact studies up front, you are suddenly looking at a 3-year delay while the environmental agencies figure out how to relocate the frog.
Remember the holding costs we just talked about.
$4 million every 6 months. That's a really expensive frog.
Exactly. So having all of that heavy infrastructure laid and those environmental clearances completed before the company even arrives, that removes years from a corporate expansion timeline.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting to me. If having shovel-ready sites with the broadband, the heavy water lines, and the environmental clearances already finished saves everyone millions of dollars in years of time, why doesn't every single town just build the infrastructure first?
It's a fair question.
Right. Why isn't every empty lot in America shovel-ready?
Because it requires taking on an enormous amount of upfront financial risk.
Risk for the town, you mean?
Yes. It is incredibly expensive for a local municipality to lay miles of heavy industrial sewer lines and high-voltage power grids to an empty field.
Just hoping someone shows up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most local governments are terrified of spending millions of taxpayer dollars on infrastructure without a guaranteed corporate tenant waiting to foot the bill.
So if nobody shows up, it's a bridge to nowhere. The taxpayers are left holding the bag.
Right. So when a region actually does it, when they proactively build that infrastructure before they have a buyer, it is a massive signal of commitment.
It's putting their money where their mouth is.
It proves that the region is actively planning for economic growth, not just reacting to it. It tells the business, look, we have absorbed the initial risk for you.
We aren't just hoping you show up. We have prepared a place for you.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's follow the causal chain here. You've got your 60-day permits, saving you millions in holding costs.
Yep.
You've secured the shovel-ready dirt, avoiding the endangered frog delay.
Frogs are relocated.
The factory gets built, but a major facility has to run for decades. How does a company guarantee they won't be bankrupted by unforeseen costs, like 5 years from now?
And that brings us to the long game.
Right. Signal number 3 moves us from immediate construction to 20-year financial modeling.
Because expansions are not short-term plays. They are 10 to 20-year commitments.
Minimum.
Financial leaders at these companies aren't just looking at what it costs to open the doors today. They need to forecast what it will cost a decade from now.
Right, because things change.
They have to model property tax impacts over multiple years. They must plan their capital investments, their lease pricing strategies, and just their overall operational cost forecasts.
Because you simply cannot run a profitable enterprise if your local property taxes suddenly triple in year 4 to pay for a new municipal project.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the text points out a highly counterintuitive truth about those incentive packages we discussed earlier.
The giant tax breaks.
Right. Transparent, predictable financial structures do not necessarily mean larger incentives.
Wait, really? Explain that.
In fact, companies will frequently accept a smaller incentive package if it comes with absolute rock-solid predictability over a 20-year horizon.
So they prefer a sure thing over a big gamble.
Smaller uncertainty actually unlocks larger investment.
That makes total sense, actually. If your costs are locked in and predictable, your risk profile drops. You can sleep at night.
Exactly.
And if leadership isn't panicking about unpredictable property taxes, they can actually be more ambitious with their expansion strategy.
Which frees them up to think about the people.
Right. The most important piece of the puzzle. The people who are actually going to run the machines inside this new factory. That is signal number 4.
A workforce strategy rather than just a labor pool.
There's a big difference there.
Huge difference. Access to talent is arguably the critical driver of any expansion decision today. But forward-looking companies are not just looking at a snapshot of today's local unemployment statistics.
Right, because hiring 500 people on day 1 is great, but what happens when 100 of them retire?
Or when the technology changes in 3 years and nobody knows how to use the new machines.
Exactly the problem.
Companies want to understand the pipeline. They need to know if the local training institutions are aligned with specific industry needs and if those workforce development programs are adaptable to new, emerging technologies.
You know, it makes me think of a teaching hospital.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Like, you don't just have doctors treating patients today. The hospital is physically integrated with a medical school.
Right, they're teaching the residents.
They are constantly training the next generation of specialists in the exact same building, using the exact same equipment, learning the newest procedures.
Yeah.
A smart company wants that exact same dynamic for their industry, right?
That is a far more accurate way to look at it than just checking local labor statistics.
Yeah.
When a region actively collaborates with local educational institutions, workforce boards, and training providers, they are building that teaching hospital ecosystem.
They aren't just relying on whoever happens to be looking for a job that month.
No, they are sending a powerful message to the corporation. They're saying, we are preparing people right now for the specific jobs you are bringing tomorrow.
It moves the company from hiring concerns to hiring confidence.
Exactly.
They know they have a continuous loop of talent. Okay, so the building is up.
But dirt is turned.
The 20-year financial models are locked. The talent pipeline is flowing. The governor has cut the giant red ribbon with the giant scissors.
Everyone's smiling for the cameras. Then what? Well, then comes the true test of the relationship.
Signal number 5.
Signal number 5 is all about true partnership and longevity. Because according to the source, A lot of municipalities have a very bad habit of pulling a disappearing act once the construction actually begins.
The ghosting phenomenon.
It is remarkably common.
Really? Even after all that work?
Oh, yeah. The text notes that many companies have horror stories about regions that were incredibly enthusiastic during the recruitment and courtship phase.
Whining and dining.
They take the executives out to fancy dinners, they show off the glossy brochures, they make all sorts of promises.
And then?
But the second the ink is dry and the backhoes show up on the dirt, the local economic development team vanishes.
They got their press conference, so they stop returning your calls. That's brutal.
And that leaves the company entirely on its own to navigate the realities of operating in a new town.
Which is incredibly difficult.
But prepared regions understand that economic development is not a one-time real estate transaction. It is a long-term partnership.
So what does a good partner do post-ribbon cutting?
Signal 5 demands local partners who stay engaged. Strong economic development organizations stick around to help navigate ongoing regulatory coordination.
So they keep running interference for you.
Yes, they're the ones who actually help you connect with those teaching hospital-style workforce training resources we just talked about.
They help you access additional state-level programs as you grow.
Exactly.
And crucially, they help you plan your future expansion phases. Because, I mean, if the first factory is a massive success, you are going to want to build a second building on the lot next door eventually, right?
Of course.
You want a partner who already knows your business inside and out to help you do that without having to reinvent the wheel.
This continuity matters immensely. It reduces operational friction for decades.
And the document we are analyzing today doesn't just theorize about this. It provides a very specific blueprint for what this looks like in the real world.
Yes, it highlights a real-world example.
Right. The Fulton County Industrial Development Agency, based out in Johnstown, New York, they embody this exact model.
They do.
They aren't just talking about these 5 signals abstractly. The source highlights specific prepared areas that are ready for this kind of long-term partnership right now.
Yes, the source lists several distinct development areas that have been intentionally cultivated using this framework.
What are some of them?
We are talking about places like the Tryon Technology Park, the Johnstown Industrial Park, the Crossroads Business and Industrial Parks, along with the Hales Mills and Vale Mills development areas.
So having 5 distinct prepared areas means they aren't just trying to cram any random business into one generic lot.
No, they've been very deliberate.
They have created specific environments modeled for long-term operational success. They have absorbed that initial risk laying the infrastructure, managing the environmental clearances, building the workforce partnerships so the corporate partners don't have to.
They even operate under an overarching Vision 2026 profile.
Which shows it's a long-term strategy.
Exactly. It demonstrates that this isn't just a reaction to a sudden corporate inquiry, but a strategic, county-wide plan that has been years in the making.
Okay, so what does this all mean? If you are listening to this deep dive right now, why should you care about this specific regional strategy in Fulton County?
You should care, because understanding this framework gives you a completely new lens to evaluate the economic reality of the world around you.
Yeah, you start seeing it everywhere.
When you watch the corporate news, or when you read about a major factory opening, or, more tellingly, failing to open in your own state, you now know how to look past the surface-level PR.
You aren't just blinded by the big dollar signs.
Right. You can look at your own local leaders and ask, is our local economy actually being managed for long-term growth? Or are they just chasing headlines?
Are they doing the hard, expensive, politically risky work of laying down heavy water lines and establishing 60-day permitting timelines?
Or are they just printing glossy brochures and hoping for the best?
Fulton County serves as a tangible, verifiable example of what it looks like to intentionally move a company from merely planning to actually building to growing successfully over decades.
It's the blueprint.
It is the literal embodiment of moving from a business-friendly billboard to a truly business-ready foundation. Let's do a quick recap of the causal chain we've just been through.
Let's do it.
We started in that boardroom, realizing that the spreadsheets don't tell the whole story. To truly avoid risk, companies look for 5 signals.
It starts with the timelines.
Right. Signal 1.
Yeah.
Clear 60 to 90-day timelines that prevent millions of dollars from burning up in interest payments, allowing capital to move at the speed of confidence.
Which flows directly into the physical site.
Signal 2. Shovel-ready dirt with all the broadband, water, and environmental clearances pre-laid so you aren't waiting 3 years for a frog to be relocated.
And once the building is up, you need signal 3.
20-year financial modeling. where smaller, rock-solid predictability is valued over massive but unpredictable tax incentives.
which then allows you to focus on the people.
Signal 4, a workforce pipeline, a true teaching hospital ecosystem training the next generation for specific technologies.
And finally, the long game.
Signal 5, local partners who don't ghost you after the ribbon is cut, but stick around to help you navigate the next 20 years of growth.
It is a comprehensive, interconnected ecosystem of readiness. Infrastructure builds the site, but confidence builds the business.
Exactly. So the next time you hear a politician or a local leader bragging about how business-friendly their town is, I want you to apply this mental model.
Ask the hard questions.
Ask yourself, are they just friendly or have they proven that they are actually ready? Look for the infrastructure, look for the timelines, look for the partnerships.
Because the reality is capital only moves at the speed of confidence. And this raises an important question, actually.
Okay.
Something we should all be thinking about as we look at the future of our own local economies.
Lay it on us. What's the final thought here?
Well, if the ultimate measure of a successful economic expansion is moving a business safely from the planning phase to the building phase and finally to the growing phase, what happens to the communities that only ever focus on planning?
Hmm.
In a fiercely competitive world where every single delay costs millions of dollars in holding costs, will the regions that merely advertise opportunity inevitably be left behind by those that have already done the hard, expensive work of demonstrating readiness?